We are live. Hello, everybody. This is the Business in Abundance interview series where I spend some time with mind, body, spirit, wellness entrepreneurs, coaches, people who support other people really in the transformational space. And sometimes that's business coaches like myself. Super, super excited. I have, correct me if I say this wrong, Joe.
I wouldn't worry too much.
I have Joe Nisioti
Yeah, yeah. Very good, very good.
with me here today. She is the comeback coach.
Mm,
Super excited to have a conversation with you today, Joe. She is also a divorce coach.
yes.
And so I would love to just kick things off by hearing a little bit about you. Specifically, I would love to hear really what was the impetus for you to become a divorce coach specifically?
Mhm. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I'm really happy to be here. So, thank you for the opportunity. Divorce coach. Well, it's been a journey being here, and I've always done things to help others. I've always felt like that's my purpose, to help other people in whatever way I can. And it's always taken different forms, and that's how I became a Reiki Master, and I've done a lot of healing work with that. And then I started coaching, life coaching, but it kind of my niche developed just because I realized how many women need help when you come out of a divorce.
Mm,
Divorce has been associated with so much. It's a taboo, and even in this society now, even in our society in this day and age, it's still, I don't know if it's looked down upon, but there is something around it, right? And I felt that women needed help and support coming out of a marriage and remembering who they really are.
mhm.
I
That's
think
it. Yeah.
that's a difficult bit when you've been married, you've been a wife for a very long time, you're a mother. Most of my clients are mothers.
Yeah.
But who are we besides those roles? Who were we to begin with? Um, and how do we create a life that is so different to what it was when we got married or what we thought it would be when we got married? Because no one gets married to get divorced, right? I mean, that's a fact. But when that dream falls apart, where are we? What are we doing? What do we want our life to be? And I feel it can be such a beautiful life if you take away the fear, if you strip it down and just find that confidence and how amazing you are. Because everyone is amazing in their own way. And I believe that so much. So you can tell I'm very passionate about it.
I love
So,
it. I
so
love that.
that's, uh,
And I think that it's so important for women to remember, whether they've been through a divorce or just have gone through being a mother. I think that
mhm,
we can come to this very similar place after trauma,
mhm,
after immersing ourselves in a career, a relationship, motherhood, where we have to kind of go, okay, who am I now? And what's my identity? And maybe they've lost a little bit of their joy. And that's something I want to touch on because I see something you've done so beautifully for yourself in your own journey is you've really cultivated joy and resilience. And let's just dive in there for a moment and talk about joy and resilience.
well, resilience is a key word because it hasn't been an easy journey. I've also struggled with Crohn's disease for 20 years. So I have an autoimmune disease and it's been very severe. And I've had 3 surgeries. So, I've been a single mom for 7 years, 8 years now, plus, a battle on the side. And resilience is it's what resilience is absolutely at the top of my what got me through. right? But what I've realized, what I'm trying to say is what I've realized through my journey is the resilience of this human spirit. We are so resilient, and women even more so. That's what I'm finding, and it's funny, I was having a conversation with a friend today, and she said, "Why are you focused on women?" And I said, "Because we're awesome." I'm not saying men aren't, but that's what I know. I know women, and I have found incredible strength in women around me.
Yes.
There's something to be said about women friendships and the bonds that you can form, right? There's nothing like women empowering other women.
It's true.
A
So
and that's what I know, and I can help women because I understand women. It's not the same for me. Business coaching is a bit different, but when you're talking about how it feels to be a woman, how, you know, to be a woman in society, to be a woman in a family and friendships, and that's what I understand, and that's what I can help with. So, resilience is incredible how we can find it no matter what our circumstances, what motivates us, that we all have a fire in us. And I think if you find that fire, it'll get you through
watch
anything.
out. Watch out.
Like, you know, it's not to say that I haven't had my darkest moments, life isn't easy. I don't think it's easy for anyone. I think what differentiates our journeys as we grow older is that we start trusting that resilience and our instinct.
And even I would like to add, learning to utilize that and find that our resilience in what we're able to overcome and push through actually gives us the strength to truly rise above.
Exactly.
And what it's done for me personally is that I've been able to look back at those really tough times in the journey, and I've been able to say, "Thank you. I had to go through that to become who I am now, and that was absolutely part of the journey, no matter how tumultuous it felt in the moment, or painful, or harrowing, or exhausting. I have been able to, and let me know if you relate to this at all, but I've been able to look back at every one of those things and say, "That is what makes me who I am, and I am grateful on some level for having had gone through that."
Do you know what? Absolutely. I mean, I wanna do, I'm gonna do something on my Instagram about it because, divorce was the hardest thing, one of the hardest things, especially, when you've got kids involved as well. So many lives change, right? And you feel so responsible and guilty to a great degree.
Mm,
But maybe it's controversial to say it, but it's the best thing that happened to me. Beside the fact that it was the right thing for our family and for all of us involved, it also forced me to start facing myself,
yeah, and
right?
probably choices too, because, like, I know that I can look back at choices I've made and reevaluate from a
Oh,
different perspective and say, "Okay, this was a period in my life where I was falling in love for the wrong reasons, or I had this idea of what my life was supposed to look like, or what a family was supposed to look like," and it's like, we are able to rewrite our story at any moment, and that story can change, and often the next chapter is that we've learned from those choices, and it's part of our growth, our self-preservation, right? And,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
it's
couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, and, I'm so s can you hear that background noise? That's my dog drinking water. I'm so sorry. It makes so
no, barely, I can barely hear it at all. My daughter's iPad just was ringing, somebody calling. This is
yeah,
real
this
life.
is life, guys.
We're real.
This is real life. Very noisy dog. Um, but, I was when I was in my 30s, there were a lot of famous women coming up and saying, 40s is your best decade, 50s is your best decade. And I remember thinking, what are they talking about? And now I can absolutely see it because I think once you get into your 40s, once you've got life behind you,
Mm,
right,
mhm.
you realize, well, you start realizing, I think, who you are. You start having more confidence in who you are, what really matters to you. And I also think you start caring less about what other people think.
Yes.
I think,
You just hit the nail on the head. I
which
spent so
I think
much of
is huge.
it's huge. I mean, I think I always was afraid of my 40s. Like 30s were fine, 20s, you're still just like free spirit, living your life.
Yes.
You're just in it, and I was always and I've even had those moments now that I'm, in my mid 40s where
Same.
where I am like almost have an identity crisis. I guess they call it a midlife
Yeah.
crisis. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis where it's like, wait a minute, I don't feel I'm this age. And where did the last 10, 15 years go? And but what you say is so true because I've just like in the last maybe 6 months to a year
Mm,
started really stepping into this like this is a really cool time of life. I am so confident, so much more confident than I ever used to be. I really don't give a shit like I used to about what people think, about
okay.
how I look, about what
Mm,
they're gonna judge me on. It's like, this is who I am. Go
exactly.
back to that word, cultivation. I have cultivated a life to be who I am now, and I'm gonna show up, and you're either gonna like me or love me or you're not, and that's okay.
I don't give a shit.
Yes.
It's exactly that. And I think you can only do that when you've lived, when you have that wisdom, right? I mean, there are people that feel that way much younger, and I admire them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I really don't know what it is in their psyche or upbringing that helps them be that much younger. But the majority of the women I know don't come to that point until their mid 40s, more or less, right? Between 40 and 50. And it's funny because you said midlife crisis, and I think, I think about it a lot, how they say men have midlife crises. You see all kinds of things when they're in their 40s and stuff.
they're dating younger women, buying their
Exactly.
car.
They drop everything, they disappear. We've all seen and heard these stories and experienced these stories. But for women, I actually think it's a renaissance more than anything. I think we step into our own. And I think that's a scary thing to many men,
Yeah, it
and to
is.
the world, because a woman that doesn't care about what other people think is powerful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power in women.
Oh, there is, and especially you mentioned before women supporting women and coming together, and
Oh,
I feel this stronger than ever that the connections I have with women they're really deep. We're able to go really deep in our conversations, and we're able to go really deep in the way that we show up for and love each other and support each other, and it's almost like the fierceness of being a mother when you
mm,
really love your tribe of
mm,
women and you want to
yes.
support them. And almost now I'm feeling, and I'm not sure if this is just a universal thing or if it's an age thing, where like that is a passion of mine. That's why I'm here doing this. I
Same.
want to support women to step into their power because there's a lot of women even in our age that have so many insecurities and self-doubts because of those relationships, because of maybe going through a divorce or a loss or losing identity or getting stuck in their career and then wondering like, who am I out of this career?
Mm.
So I think that coming together and supporting other women is so important and vital for us.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you. I want to see every woman embrace who they really are, because we all have the answers within us, right? They get lost along the way. There's so many shoulds
Oh,
and so many pressures. Whereas I think we're born with the answers. If you really want to take it down that route, I think we know
oh,
from the beginning what we're meant to offer and who we really are. And I think that's our journey. We lose that, we get lost in life, and then we rediscover it, right? And sometimes it's harder for people. I mean, for me to get to where I am, I've been through a lot. I've had a lot of therapy, I've done coaching, I've been coached. There's a journey. You need tools, you need help, you need support.
yeah, absolutely.
And the more we can help other women feel the same way, because I get asked this question so much. How can you be so happy, or and it's not like I'm always happy. I don't mean it in that way, but, like, how can you always be okay? How can you always be okay?
Mhm.
You know, single mom, dogs, cats, it's a circus.
I've got the same circuits.
Exactly. And, you know, there's never a spare minute to do anything else. Plus, you know, a health battle on the side. And I'm like, I think it I don't think, I'm sure it's because I've come to this point where I know who I am. I'm not here to please anyone,
Yeah.
right? I'm not here to please anyone. My focus are on my children and myself and the people I love. It's a bit like, you know, take no shit, do no harm.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
that's what I live by, right? I'm responsible for my own journey, right?
Yeah.
I wanna help as many people as I can, and that's about it.
And you said it right there. It is really about, I mean, I think of it as having an awareness and really going back to that intuition that we always have, maybe we're born with, and that
Mm,
we learn to tap into, and we maybe kind of lose that along the way, but then it's really listening to that intuition again. And then you said it also, getting support,
yeah.
reaching out, and knowing that we're never alone on this journey and that we are responsible for our happiness. We're
Mhm.
responsible for our choices and how we live our lives, and we have that option at any moment to be happy, to be optimistic, and it's not always easy. I think,
No.
those dark moments are really important to recognize,
Mhm.
and but don't live there, and you don't have to live there. You don't have to live in this space of being a victim or being unhappy or, thinking that that's the way your life has to be. You can choose to show up and be in your full glory. So,
Exactly.
one of the things that I would love to ask you is, you know, what were some of the things you struggled with the most, going through a divorce? And what would you say to women right now who are, maybe they're going through it, maybe they're contemplating it and they're afraid because, they want to take back their power, they're unhappy, they want to show up differently, they want to live their life. I would love to just hear what are some of those, the some of your wisdom to get through that, of course, would be great, and what's relatable because maybe they are feeling alone.
You know, it's an extremely complex process, um, and it does mess up with your head so much,
Mm,
right? Um, I think, and I'm not just talking the actual divorce, the process, like, leading up to it, right? Then the actual divorce and the time after it for a while. You question yourself so much. You question yourself, and you doubt yourself so much. I think that's the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I had to deal with, and I'll go back to that. And the other thing I noticed that I think a lot of women feel or experience, but sometimes it's not talked about because I think it makes you feel like shit a little bit, to be honest with you. You notice how your social circle changes
mm,
very quickly,
mhm,
quickly. And to me, that was quite a shock because you think you know, you obviously have your own friendships, and then you have the couple friendships, right? Or and very quickly you see who's actually your friend or not because the politics come in.
mm,
Oh, my husband's friends with the husband, so that's if the friendship was there first, so I'm gonna back off, or I don't wanna get
mhm,
involved. And I swear I saw friends falling off like flies, like, they're, like, out of the picture completely,
yeah,
straight away. And that but like anything, that's a you can see the pluses there, right? You know who you can count on, who you can't count on, and I think it's so important not to take anything personally.
mm,
You're never, ever gonna find an you know, what you're looking for there, right? There's no point in even going there and trying to find out why or how. It's just, "Okay, that's how it is, moving on," you know?
Mhm. But how do
That
you not take things personally in that process when you're feeling self-doubt and you're already, like, struggling and maybe questioning the choice, the decision, or whether it was yours or the other party's decision? I'm sure that
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah, because it's exactly, sometimes it's the other person. This is gonna sound so cliché probably, but honestly, it's your gut.
mm, mhm,
Gut
mhm,
that we all have, women have it, it's strong,
mhm,
and I think the biggest task that we've got as women is being able to figure out what that gut voice is, compared to all the other voices we have in our heads,
yeah.
right?
What are some ways that you would advise somebody to listen to their gut? Do you have some practices or some ways that you work with people specifically to kind of get into that place?
Well, the one thing I'm gonna say before I get into that is that it's always the one that makes you feel that is the most comfortable, that feels right inside, and I think we all know that.
Mhm.
Sometimes when we listen to a voice that is the should voice, it's not our voice, it's the should voice, that's doesn't make you feel comfortable. There's discomfort in that decision,
Mm.
right?
Learning to recognize that, the
Exactly.
difference.
The difference.
Mhm.
It might be the right thing or what you think is the right thing, but inside of you, you feel discomfort with that should. So
Mhm.
that isn't your gut voice. That isn't your authentic voice. But that's a general thing, and you need the work to do it. I with my clients, I go through exercises.
Mhm.
Obviously, meditation.
Mhm.
Everyone talks about meditation, and that helps a lot. With my coaching, I bring in my Reiki a lot if
Mhm.
people are open to that. I use that a lot. So meditation does help. I think meditation is very intimidating to some people because they think it's this, "Oh, I should be able to sit there for an hour and not think of anything," and it's the exact opposite. I mean, that's never worked for me,
No.
you know? I think the more comfortable you become with your thoughts while you're meditating,
Yeah.
I think the secret is that these thoughts do come and go, but you learn that for them not to affect you in that space that you're in, right?
Yeah.
But people are intimidated by meditation. So I walk them through that and what I mean by meditation. Um, and then we do exercises where we go really deep eventually on who they really are, finding that voice. I've come up with this term called liberal dreaming, which is, you know, if you could dream anything in the world, no limitations, no other people judging you, nothing. And I told you it'd come true. What would it be? Like,
Mm.
exercises like that.
Yeah.
Once they embrace that, because it takes a bit of embracing to get into it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, once you get into that, your voice starts coming through like that, you know, and it all comes together.
That
You
is
know?
such a powerful exercise, holding the vision, um,
Yes.
having the vision, embracing it, and, almost embodying it, even if it's in your mind, right? Really, like, what does it feel like when I'm in that place, when I'm that person or showing up that way? And I love what you said about meditation because I agree 100%. Meditation could be closing your eyes for 2 minutes, it could be going for
Mhm,
a walk.
mhm.
You whatever it is that allows you to just have really the space. It's really about creating some space to just sink in and be present with yourself,
Exactly.
allowing those thoughts to just come in and noticing them, right? It's like, I'm just gonna be more aware, stopping to be aware. Because how often are we so distracted by we're distracted constantly, so
Constantly.
anything you can do to take away some of those distractions,
Yeah.
even if it's for 5 minutes, that can be meditation, right?
And, absolutely, I agree with you completely, and I think to some people, it's scary to be without distractions because what are they gonna come face to face with,
Yes.
right? And I think that's where coaching is very useful because you're kind of on that journey with them, right? And you're on their like, by their side, walking them through whatever it is that they're afraid of facing. Um, I think another very important element is compassion, self-compassion.
Yeah.
Especially as we were talking about our journeys and in our 20s or 30s or, you know, mistakes we've made or why do we choose certain things or, you know, all that relationships, whatever. And I think you need to gather as much self-compassion as you can find when thinking of those things because if you're going to judge yourself, you're on the wrong path. Like that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to understand that you acted in whatever marriage you got into or relationship or decisions you've made based on what you knew and based on everything that made you you up to that point,
Yeah.
you know? And I think as you're growing older, you start separating who you are, you know, despite or in spite of all those other external noise, you know, if that
I
makes
always
sense.
I always think of it like this. If my best friend who I love and I always want the best for comes to me and is maybe hard on herself or doubting herself or having that negative, putting herself down or
Mm.
questioning those things, what would you say to your
Yes,
best friend? What would you
exactly.
say? You would say, "No, you are amazing." You would say, "No, you are loved. You are beautiful. You're going to get through this." Like, you would really want to encourage and, be authentic, of course, but
Mm,
encourage that person. So treat yourself like your very best friend as you're going through experiences, right? And what would you say to yourself? And maybe those doubts come in, that's normal, but then you talk back to those doubts and you say, "No, that's just a thought. That is not who I am. That's just a thought. And I am actually this incredibly strong, amazing woman who still has the rest of my life in front of me with so much opportunity. So what's awaiting me?" Start dreaming about that and
exactly.
not living in whatever the fear or the pain or the anger or the fighting or
The
whatever led
shame.
to that, the shame, the
Yes,
mother shame, right? The
yes,
mother
yes.
guilt. So what are some ways that, first of all, I'd love to hear, like, why do some women come to you? What's going on in their life aside from divorce? But I think that's a big umbrella. What do they come to you and what do they say? And how do you best support and help them? What do they need in the moment?
I think what they need the most is someone who's been there to tell them that it's all gonna be okay.
Mhm.
You know, I've been there, and I'm a perfect representation that life can throw shit at you, and it will still throw shit at you, but you can be in such a great place with yourself that no matter what it throws at you, first of all, you can be okay and still happy, right? So it's all about it's usually when they feel they've lost their anchoring, right? Because they've been so attached to the relationship, right? It defines them.
Mm,
I think it's always a hard transition, right? I'm married, I'm not married, you know? I'm with someone, there's a partner, there isn't a partner,
mhm,
right? And I think that can be so, um, what's the word I'm looking for? That can shake it to your core, right? So they will come to me because they wanna find that anchoring again.
mhm,
But they don't realize that what I will help them most with is finding that in themselves,
mm,
right? That's my job.
mhm.
I'm here to help them see how amazing they are,
Yeah,
right? I'm just a facilitator, right? Who has the tools and who can help them and give them those tools
yeah.
to find who they really are and remember that. So usually they come for me for that anchoring and they also come to me because Where does life go now? You know, I was talking to someone and they're like, "Oh, I want to start dating again," or "How do I start dating again?" And absolutely, I'll help you with that, but that's not my aim. My aim is to get you to a place where you can do whatever you want and feel amazing about it. Because once we get that base right, yes, you can start dating again. You'll feel amazing about yourself, but you'll also be attracting the right people.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's like the cherry on the cake,
Yeah,
you see.
like the
And
result of the work that you
exactly.
will
And
eventually attract.
I don't want to promote myself, "Oh, help you find the man of your dreams," because to me, as a single mom, that's not my dream, right? If it comes, amazing, but I'm really happy on my own as well, and for some women, that might not work, and
Yeah.
I think if you're coming straight out of a divorce, that's not gonna be your priority. Maybe it is somewhere for some people, maybe it's somewhere in the horizon for other people, but I feel what I can help you most with and what will be the biggest gift to yourself is finding yourself.
Mhm.
When you find yourself, everything else falls into place.
Yeah, because you start taking care of yourself better. You
Exactly.
you know, you have confidence. I think of it almost like having a compass, like you're helping people to find their
Mm.
compass to their
Thank
true
you.
north, that once they have the tools or they remember or they really, they're like, "Yes, I know who I am. I have this compass." Anything is available if they want that relationship, if they want that job, if they want to just be single and raise their children or start a career, become an entrepreneur, whatever it is. I find that there's some magic in that compass and that in finding yourself where anything becomes possible, and all of those layers of doubt and fear and insecurities start to fall away. But having a coach, having a guide, having a therapist is so important because there's accountability there. And
Exactly.
there's a roller coaster, I imagine, in a divorce, especially of emotions, and you can easily fall back into patterns probably, whether it's thought patterns or even relationship patterns and attracting the wrong person again because there's that piece that isn't healed, right? So
Exactly.
having somebody there with you along for the ride as you kind of navigate the ups and downs and the desires and the lack of desires and all of
Mhm.
those things that come into play, can actually really help you, one, to get to that compass faster,
Exactly, that's what it is.
and then also to come out on the other side, like the best version of yourself and living the life that you really want to live. And I think it's so important. And there's also people have a lot of shame not only in going through these, or I'm a single mom and I get a lot, oh wow, that must be really hard. Like I get this response like, oh, like that.
This is oh, it's
Eh,
oh.
like it's supposed, and to me, I'm always like, "No, this is I'm actually choosing this. I love
Mhm.
this. I love this.
I love it too, that's the
I don't
thing I
want
love.
I don't want another child to take care of, and that's been my experience, and maybe
Mm.
I will attract that." So, until I'm really sure I'm
Ready?
not going to attract another child,
Mm.
that's just where I am, but it's never like I love my life with my 2 kids. I absolutely love it, and I'm more empowered than I've ever been. And
Exactly.
I'm probably happier than I've ever been in a lot of ways because I have freedom. I have a
Mm,
different kind of freedom that wasn't attached to, I have to be in a relationship.
exactly.
I'm 40 something. I should be married. I should my no, no. If I want to go travel the world with my kids and have an adventure, I'm going to. Nobody's going to tell me I can't.
Exactly, I'm so with you on that, and that's how every woman should feel. Whether they're divorced and with a new partner, or alone, with kids, no kids, anything, that's exactly how they should be feeling. Happy, fulfilled, that's all what we all want, right? And it's attainable. It's so attainable, and I can get them there in 90 days. I mean,
So let's talk about this. Tell us a little bit about your program and how people can work with you and what happens in these 90 days. Tell us a little bit
these
about
90
your
days.
secret sauce.
Well, in these 90 days. Um, So I call it the divorce detox because that's what it is, really. It's getting rid of whatever the associations are with a divorce, right? So let's just separate ourselves. I keep saying divorce doesn't define us, it refines us. So
Mhm.
let's use it. What is it that it made you? What is it that it taught you about yourself? There's so much to learn there,
Mm.
right? So let's use that instead of feeling shame in it or like it's a judgment or, something else. It could be an amazing lesson. Wear it with pride. Wear it with pride at the end of the day, right? It's part of your journey and that's what you needed to go through. And here you are. And how can we turn that around? So let's detox from the divorce,
Mm.
in the usual sense. And my program is mostly, well, it's kind of broken down in three phases. And in the first phase, I do a lot of work with my clients looking back because that is necessary, you
Mhm.
know, and we do look into past mindset, what got them to where they are now, including the divorce, the breakdown of the relationship. You don't go as deep as therapy, but you do need to go into that so
Mm.
we can figure out why we are where we are now.
Yeah.
So that's the first part is mostly what's come before that, including our limiting beliefs,
Mhm.
uh, self-worth. All those things are looked at in the first part. And then in the second part, based on what we found in the first part, we start talking about, we start working on how to remove ourselves from that limiting part
Mm.
of our life, right? That hasn't served us to the degree that we'd want to, right? So what can we change? How do we change it? And
Mm.
then through exercises, we start changing things one by one. That could be, we work a lot on values because people need to remember that it's our values and principles that lead us, that guide us.
Yeah.
And everyone has different values and principles, and that's okay, right? And a lot of marriages break down because those are not aligned,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's very important that when you come out of a relationship like that, that you remember what your values and principles
Mhm.
are and re-strengthening those, right? Giving them because those are important and you don't just put them because you'll never be happy if you don't honor those,
Yeah.
right? And so what do we need to work on to get those back up there again? And what does that mean for you? And how do we set boundaries? Because that's another thing I help women with is co-parenting,
Mm.
right? It isn't fun. No matter what your relationship is like, it can be, you know,
Mm. And triggering, it can bring things back up.
incredibly triggering, and I've seen it through my own journey. We've gone through phases with the best relationship between us, and you're like, "Can this be real? Like, isn't this amazing?" Do you remember when Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin separated, and it was this unconscious
Oh, the uncoupling, conscious
you know,
uncoupling.
and it was like my marriage was falling apart during that time, and I was like, "That's what I'm gonna do." And I was like, okay, this isn't as easy as I thought it would be, you know?" But that was my goal, and anyway, I mean, co-parenting is hard, okay? It's very triggering, so how can I help you protect yourself, and stay focused on the children,
Yeah,
right?
it's hard. It's
And you staying strong and intact, having your integrity, right? Who am I as Joe in this whole process, and not losing parts of me in that interaction every time,
yeah, that's hard.
right?
That's hard.
It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard, and I still find it challenging, I won't lie. So it is what it is. So that's all part of the second phase, right? And in that second phase, we're also thinking and working on who are we really when we go through those values and principles, but also what do you want to be doing? Like, where do you want to be?
Mm.
That's where my liberal dreaming comes in, right?
Mhm.
You might say to me, I want to be an astronaut. right? So, okay, you wanna be an astronaut. So, then we work on that. Like, is that feasible? Is it not feasible? Okay, maybe it's not feasible. Well, what's close to that? Or why do you wanna be an astronaut, right? Like,
Mhm.
what is it that that brings out in you? Is it the sense of exploration? Is it yet that you wanna travel? Is that you're really curious? Is it it could be a million things, right? So then we start working on that. And then we come up with plans,
Yeah.
right? How do
Mm.
we set goals? What are our goals and how do we get there? And then the third phase eventually is starting implementing those plans. So I'm still with you while you start implementing those things.
Mm.
And I'm there to celebrate your successes because that's and there are successes. And you won't believe, when you're in that third phase and you look back to where you were 6 or 7 or 8 weeks ago, the jump is amazing. I mean, it's not a jump, you've been doing a lot of work, but the difference,
Mhm.
right?
I
And
bet
by
that's so rewarding too for you to
oh,
witness, like, the transformation. I mean, that's what it is witnessing the transformation and seeing how far someone can come from being maybe in the depths of despair, not knowing what's next, to actually, like, going after their dreams and living them and starting to be fulfilled and confident, and probably their whole aura changes and,
it's unbelievable, and to me, it's so rewarding. You can probably tell. I mean, just thinking about the next woman that will go from there to there,
Yeah,
and the happiness it will bring, the joy to her life about herself, and her life. I mean, to me, that's there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
amazing. I'm gonna share, I'd like you guys to all go check out
So, where are we checking out?
Joe's, Instagram. So if you point your camera at that QR code, that will take you right to Joe's Instagram. She has beautiful, and I actually love, it was one of your recent posts. I think it's in your, I don't know how recent actually. It's in your about,
Mm,
and you go through, it's so beautiful. You go through just some, you know, your life a little bit, your journey. Let's talk a little bit about the health journey piece of it too.
mm,
And while we don't all probably have, quite the extensive, the surgeries and things that you've actually had to go through while navigating being a mom, being a single mom, divorce and all of that. I think a lot of women, we get to our age and just things don't work like they used to. Our hormones are changing, our bodies are changing. Maybe we find ourselves single in our 40s and it's just not like
mm,
it was when
mm.
we were in our 20s. Maybe there are more and more, our pains, aches,
Oh,
things,
yeah.
aches, you name it, coming up. So how, aside from the resilience, how has it been for you personally to go through those moments, and I'm sure you weren't alone, but maybe not having that partner by your side,
Mm,
experience,
mm.
a health thing that I imagine if I was in your shoes, I would probably have thought, "Boy, it would really be nice to have that partner right now as I'm going through this, just to have that sort of that." I think about growing old, and
Yes.
when I think about growing old, and I'm sure when we're suffering or we're in pain, we feel old.
Mhm,
We
mhm.
we maybe even question if how much we're gonna live, how much longer am I
Yes,
gonna be here for
sure.
my children? Um,
Absolutely.
I feel like that's when I think, "Boy, it would be really nice to have somebody to grow old with," right? But, what was that experience like for you going through, I mean, being in the hospital, going through surgeries, having a health really facing some health issues while you're still on your healing journey and you're a mom?
Well, look, I mean, it brings you face to face with your own mortality. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a fact, and I won't lie, it was probably the darkest time in my life because, it's also very serious surgery, and it's abdominal surgery, and, it's your gut, it's your, intestines, it's survival. It really, really is a survival thing if you think about it, and, that is really scary, and I always said it's a mind fuck, it's serious. Um, and yes, I have had my darkest moments in there without a partner. Of course, it would have been easier with a partner. The right partner. The right partner, though. That's key, right? Not just anyone. It has to be the right person. But the fact that they weren't there and I'm still here.
Yeah.
I came out of it. And I know I can do that. I know I'm resilient enough to go through that. I don't wish it on anyone, you know, and
Mhm.
it's not ideal at all, far from it. But, you know, I say one thing, life has a way of showing you the way.
Yeah.
And
True. This is very true.
my health will flare up or go a bit crazy and cuckoo when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I veer from my path, it's there. It's like,
Your body
"Oh, no,
lets
you
you
don't.
know.
No, you don't." And I'm stubborn. It's gonna life is more stubborn than we are. It's gonna show you the way until you listen. And I've noticed that. So now I'm really attuned to messages, you know what I mean? Like the signs.
Yeah. Well, you listen to your gut, and your gut lets
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
and, um, it's
So
a
that
it's interesting because I think I do believe that our body and our body tells us, our body gives us signs and signals and symbols, and that sometimes, you know, when we've lived a certain way for a certain period of time, our body will let us know. And I had a similar experience with my gallbladder years and years ago, where it really flared up after being in a relationship where I was very easily triggered by this person. It was like
mm,
gall, got a lot of
mm,
gall. Like there's
mm.
just like certain things, and I do believe our bodies let us
Oh,
know
absolutely.
some ways, and it can, even if we really listen, and if whether you believe in holistic medicine or not, if you really listen to those particular places, is your stomach hurting a lot? Are you getting headaches all the time? And of course it could just be related to a health issue,
Yes.
but it is also an opportunity to look a little bit deeper at where that's coming from. Are you having heart palpitations? What's
Exactly.
this about? Are you not stepping into your heart enough, listening to your
Mhm.
heart enough? And I do believe sometimes that I mean, I had twins, and I do believe sometimes things show up because they're for us, like, because on some higher level, we can get through them. We can get through these certain things. So I don't want to say God, but if you believe in God or the universe or
Whatever it is,
higher
the universe.
handing you something because you can overcome it, and because then you can share that with other people, and you can help
Absolutely.
help other people heal. So perhaps some of what you've gone through was so that you could not only get through it yourself and be this like pillar of incredible strength and um, a cultivator of joy and happiness within yourself, but so that you could show up
Oh,
for
absolutely.
other people and help them, and that was part of your calling.
I believe that 100%. 100%. And I even, there are my moments, I won't go to why me, right? I won't sometimes you feel like, oh, why me? But actually, no, I need to learn something from this. That's the goal. I need to learn something from this experience about myself and what I'm meant to be doing. And it's interesting because you're saying that. And the one thing I didn't mention is I'm not a nutritional coach, but I do bring it in during my first phase when we talk
Mm,
things, very basic stuff. But I think that's part of self love and showing, your self care is how do you look after yourself. And I know that nutrition to me
absolutely.
has been key into my health. And ever since I changed some very basic stuff, we're not talking like, crazy science here. It's changed everything in my health journey. So I bring that in, not as a nutritional coach, just very basic stuff as part of my coaching. If we
I
need to look at that,
agree. I think that is absolutely so important and something that we often overlook. And I'd say even almost, I don't want to generalize women, but almost sometimes we can go into the
yeah,
opposite direction with emotional eating or
of course, comfort.
stuffing our feelings or the wrong things, when really, in fact, what's going to support us, it probably looks very different and nourish us and actually help us heal through that time. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm going to share here in the chat okay, I'll have to also post this on some of, depending on where you're tuning in from, I'll post this underneath as well. But this is a calendar link to actually book a 30-minute discovery call with Joe. And just tell us a little bit about what happens in that discovery call. Say somebody watching is like, maybe they're going through divorce. Maybe they've just been through tough relationships and they love your energy because you show up with such an incredible energy and you're empowering. And I can't see why anybody wouldn't want to be like, oh, I want to spend more time with her and hang out with her. But tell us a little bit about what happens in a discovery call.
So it is a discovery call in the sense that I want to learn more about them, what brings them to me in the first place. What is it that they're looking for? But I also want them to know more about me. I want them to feel my energy and see if it's a good fit, because I do feel we are attracted to the right people in that sense. So it needs to be a good fit. And then it's magic, right? If we feel good about each other, it's magical. So um, I will walk them through my program. I will tell them what I can offer them. Um, and they get to know me and I get to know them. And that's all it is, really. That's what it's about.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity to just get to know Joe, book
It's
a call,
free. So they have nothing to lose.
free, start to have a conversation and explore maybe coaching, maybe having that support and that accountability is really going to help you get through this time, is going to help you get to the other side. You're going to do some of this incredible visioning. I mean, even the look back, I know that a lot of people will avoid looking back or doing the work or healing because it's scary, right? It's really scary. We don't want to relive those moments. We don't. However, I always say you've got to feel it to heal it. And you've got to be able to recognize again those patterns, because you don't want to repeat those patterns, right? You want to step out of this, and that can take alone, I know,
Oh, yes.
can take a long time, because maybe you go back to that person. Maybe you get back into a relationship that's bringing up those patterns, or maybe you continue to self-sabotage or not really show up and take care of yourself. So when you have
You don't know how,
you
right?
don't know how.
How? Because you're in it. You're in it. So in that moment, you don't know how. But 90 days, if you think about it, if someone started now, by the end of the summer, they're in a different place completely. They're completely different themselves, and they're
Imagine.
so much happier. So it's huge, right? And the going back bit is that once you start getting into everything else, you've completely forgotten about it. It's gone. It's done. We did it once,
Yeah.
you know.
Give yourself the gift of 90 days of
Yeah.
transformation, because I have a feeling you're not only going to heal, your ability to show up in a relationship, your confidence, but you're probably going to start to heal the inside, the outside. You're going to show up and feel more
Yeah.
confident. Maybe you're going to feel sexy again that you haven't in a long time, right? Because you have this empowerment. It's so
Yeah.
important. We lose that, right? So gosh, I feel like you and I could probably just talk
I
for
know we could.
I'm like, I need to jump across the pond to the
Mhm.
UK and go
Or
ahead,
me that
or you
way.
go over
I'm
to
due because
come
you're
over.
in Oregon, right?
Yeah, come over
I
to
haven't visited there in 16, 17 years. I've been 3 times.
Oh, well, I feel like, you and I would be just like kindred soul sisters and could
Oh,
talk for hours
absolutely.
and hours, but this has been so much
Absolutely.
fun. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here with me
you.
today and having this conversation.
Thank you for having
I
me.
really encourage anybody watching, go Joe's Instagram is great. I'm so impressed by her Instagram. It's definitely goals. But you're really authentic and you show up and you share a lot there. And I think it's beautiful. And that really helps people to resonate with you and want to work with you. So go
Thank
check out her Instagram, book a discovery call, reach out. She's on,
Anytime,
she's on Instagram,
anytime.
message. And
I
I
love hearing from people, you know?
appreciate you being here today. Do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience today about if you're going through this, what is one thing? What is just one thing somebody who's in the rut of that experience, going through a divorce, feeling the shame? what can they do today? What's one simple thing to start to feel better and start to take back their life?
I want them to dream. That's what I want them to do because it's tough and it's hard, but it will be okay. And life can be amazing beyond their wildest expectations.
Yeah.
And they can be happy again and they will be happy again. They need to remember that they will be happy again. So I want them to dream because it's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
That. Dream and dream big and see the beautiful vision for yourself
Great.
that you desire and you deserve.
Exactly. It's all coming if you allow yourself. Women need to allow to give themselves permission. We don't give ourselves enough permission.
So true.
Give yourself
This
permission
is
to
your
dream
permission right here to dream
right
big.
here. Dream big. I'm here to help. So,
Amazing. Thank you so much,
oh,
Joe. This
Rachel,
has
thank
been
you.
really
It's been
wonderful.
wonderful. Thank you.
Next